Hey, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me. I'm here doing an interview for my good friend Jacob Lenhoff for his YouTube channel and his socials. I was fortunate enough to link up and connect with Jacob online as a fan of my work in the SamStone and Task Force Raven universe. I am SamStone, and I am very grateful for the opportunity to connect with not only Jacob but his legion, his horde of fans who enjoy his videos. And let's get right to it, shall we? So, question number one: where did I grow up? Well, I'm a product of West Texas. I grew up on the far end of the state, as far as west as you can go, where Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico all meet. Two states, three nations, or I'm sorry, excuse me, three states, two nations, that is. I grew up in the West Texas town of El Paso. It's hardly a town anymore. It's a gigantic city with its sister cities of Juarez, Mexico, and Las Cruces, New Mexico. Interesting place to grow up, being on the border and right at the intersection of all those different cultures. I'm a product of West Texas public education, which if you've been there, you know that we're not talking Harvard on the border, but it certainly produced a lot of scrappy and really successful kids that grew up in not hard. Let's not make it more than it is. We didn't grow up hard. We grew up like a lot of kids across America did, just with a little different flavor to it. So here's to all those El Pasoans that have chewed the same sandstorms and know what it smells like after it rains in the desert around El Paso, which happens very rarely. But so that's me. That's where I'm from. I spent most of my first 18 years there, between El Paso and San Antonio and a small town in Big Bend, down in the Big Bend area of West Texas, before I eventually came to beautiful Central Texas and went to my beloved University of Texas at Austin. So that's kind of my horsepower, where I came from. So there you go. So question two: how did I get into writing? Well, if we're being literal, I guess we're being literal and literary at the same time. See what I did there? I got into writing when I was a child. I like doodling and writing little stories. My mother was extraordinarily supportive of that, and of course, as mothers are or want to do, she acted like I was the next Hemingway. Although I'm quite sure that it was kind of Dick and Jane see a small brown fox jump over a log. But at any rate, that's how I approached it. Going up through grade school, junior high, high school, and at college, I took a lot of creative writing courses, and in college I took a lot of writing intensive courses. And my major, and I wound up with a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and they were writing intensive, to say the least. And my career as a law enforcement officer was writing intensive also. That's technical writing, that's report writing, that's legalese and legal writing. But at any rate, I've been writing all my life. When I started to really explore the world of writing for pleasure, writing for an audience, and writing for entertainment, literary fiction, that was really a journey I started. And like a lot of aspiring authors, you're scared to put yourself out there. You're afraid that, hey, what if I can't do this? What if I start and I can't finish? Well, that's what keeps a lot of people from even starting, right? So once I started it, I started this process in 2021, when it was been banging around in my head for a long time, different kinds of series. And of course, I love a lot of these kind of writers in this genre, but I started looking at a thriller series, and that's what led me into developing the character of a Texas Ranger who was also in special operations in the military, came back and joined the Texas Department of Public Safety, became a Texas Ranger, then led a counterterror task force, which is Task Force Raven. And that started in 2021, but it really, once I retired in 2024, that's when I really kind of mashed the gas and took off the brake and went for it. And that brings us to today, when I've now published a novella and a novel. So there you have it. That's how I started that. So I spent 30 years, the question about what was my experience like, 30 years as a police officer. Rewarding, sometimes frustrating, sometimes maddening, sometimes depressing, sometimes very happy, sometimes very sad, sometimes terrifying, sometimes bored. It runs the gamut. Anybody that has been a police officer in America, or loves a police officer, or knows, or good friends with a police officer, knows that it's a journey, right? It's a long time. I spent 30 years on the job, and I served in a lot of different roles. I served in patrol for a good amount of time, both as a rank officer, or as well as a sergeant and as a lieutenant. As I moved up the rank structure, I also spent time in a street crimes unit, different street crimes unit, but at one time I was an officer for a number of years, at the rank of officer for a number of years in that unit, and briefly as a detective, and then as a sergeant supervisor. I was over that unit again. I spent time as a detective in the organized crime field, specifically on an FBI task force, in investigating and suppressing gangs in Texas. I worked for a large agency in Texas where we had all the bells and whistles, so we were able to be a part of that task force. And that was a great experience. Spent 5 years doing that, and that was great. As a sergeant, I served in patrol, like I said, in a street crimes unit. Then as a lieutenant, I briefly served in patrol, but then I was in the intelligence division as a watch commander in a intelligence fusion center and a real-time crime center. As a commander, moving up the ranks again, commander, captain, same type of rank, I served as in patrol again, and then I served as special operations commander over units like a full-time Type 1 SWAT team, a full-time EOD bomb squad, over our boats, our helicopters, our dogs, our hostage negotiators, our dive team. Basically anything that fought, flew, or floated, I was kind of, I had the honor of kind of being the umbrella over that. Throughout that also, I spent time with our tactical unit, our full-time SWAT team. I was in a reserve component with the full-time SWAT team before I became the commander of it. So that was kind of my experience with police and police special operations. Let's see. Did I use my experience with special operations law enforcement to write this book, and what was the most difficult action scenes to show off? Yes, yeah, I did. I drew directly from that. I not only drew from that, I come from a military family, and some of my family were in military special operations. I had an uncle that was KIA in Vietnam in 1971. He was a member of 5th Special Forces MACV-SOG. He was KIA in January of 1971. And my first cousin that I was relatively close to, he spent 8 years as a regimental ranger in the 1st Battalion before he went through selection and was selected for our nation's premier counter-terror and hostage rescue unit, special missions unit. He was tragically on his first deployment in Iraq in 2003 during the initial invasion. He was KIA in heavy combat outside of Tikrit, Iraq, with against Ba'athist forces, where they were dramatically outnumbered. It's an amazing story. Maybe someday I'll be able to put that into writing and into print. I'll talk to my family about that and see if that's something anybody wants to be involved with, or if they want me to do it. But the mission support site, the MSS for Special Operations in Baghdad, was named after him, and it was active for many years before we, for the most part, pulled out. But it's still there, but that's another story. Some of the most difficult action scenes to show off, it's difficult to really capture the sights, sounds, smells, feels, all of the 5 senses when you're really describing something like combat or action or battle. For those who have been through it, and I've never been, of course, in military combat. I don't pretend to be. I'm just a regular guy, but I've been around a lot of it in the police world, and describing it, and especially describing how those 5 senses translate into your feelings, your personal feelings about it, your personal emotions, your personal mental state, the way you approach it, and the way you physically, mentally, and emotionally process that. That's incredibly difficult. I try very hard to do that with my writing, but that's a moving target. That really is. I also try to engage in my best Hemingway-esque writing style, where I try to cut it back, but at the same time engaging those five senses. So that's a tightrope, and I'm certainly not an expert at it, and it's something I'll struggle with throughout my entire writing career. But so that's what I find most challenging. When did I come up with the concept for this book? Again, I go back to 2021. Even though this stuff like this has been banging around in my head for a long time, 2021 is when I started to solidify this task force, this protagonist, this world I wanted to explore with where law enforcement and military intersect, where I have a protagonist who is a active duty Texas Ranger as part of their Special Operations Division. He's also in the National Guard component of Special Forces Group, in the 19th Special Forces Group, which is a real thing. I took a lot of liberties with a lot of this stuff, but I tried to keep it as realistic as possible. And that Special Forces Group is a real thing, and they do have a Special Operations component to it. And him having come from an active duty Special Forces group in the 3rd group, and trying to bring that to life, and mixing it all up with my personal favorite, the great, beautiful Republic of Texas. Kind of bringing all the things that I love and I really enjoy and I like to read about and see and see things about is what led to me writing about it. So that's kind of where I developed the concept for it. Now, was I always a fan of action series books? Yes, and I always have been. That's been my favorite genre since I was young. Not as young anymore, but I still stay with that. Examples: I'm a big, huge Vince Flynn fan. Let's go ahead and rewind that. Vince Flynn fan. R.I.P. to Vince. But some great people have carried on his work. Kyle Mills done a great job carrying on the Mitch Rapp series. Love Brad Thor, as I mentioned before, and his Scott Harvath series. I love Jack Carr with his James Reese and his Terminal List series. Fantastic. Jack is great. One of my very favorite duos is Andrews and Wilson, Brian Andrews and Jeff Wilson. A couple of Navy vets and just fantastic human beings who are very generous and are very giving to new and independent authors. I love their Ember series with Jack Kemper, as well as their Sons of Valor series and their Shepherd series. All great books, and they're prolific, my goodness. But they're prolific, but they keep the quality up. They're able to release 2 to 3 books per year in different series and juggle that, and they keep the quality up, which is one of the reasons I love them so much. Love Nelson DeMille. He's amazing. Again, R.I.P. to Nelson. His son Alex DeMille is keeping a lot of that tradition alive. I'm very pleased about that. Thank you, Alex. Just there's too many to really mention, but that's the kind of thing I really dig, and I hope that in some small way I can connect myself to the world of those great authors, those giants, and kind of they're letting me stand upon their shoulders as I really get into the beginning part of this journey. I don't compare myself to them. That's a thief of joy, as Mark Twain said, but I do hope that fans of theirs will become fans of my writing as well. That'd be one of the biggest honors I can imagine. Let's see here. What famous author do I think highly of, and what are some of your favorite books of theirs? I won't retread over the action series, but probably my favorite author of all time is Hemingway, and I don't think I'm alone in that, right? I was lucky enough to get to go to Key West and visit his home in Key West, which has been turned into a museum, which is fantastic. That was a lot of ghosts on those grounds. A lot of six-toed cats on those grounds if you ever visit there. He's got a whole colony of six-toed cats living there. They've done a really good job keeping his legacy alive. I got to see a replica of his boat, the Pilar. Got to go to the Hemingway Rum Company there in Key West. I'm looking forward to going to Cuba someday and visiting his finca and some of his old haunts. But my favorite place to visit is of course, his works, his books. And I'm in the majority of people who happen to think that probably the most perfect piece of literature, the tops, and the thing that a lot of authors, I'm sure, aspire to be in the four corners of The Old Man and the Sea. You just don't get better than that. And man, if I could write even a fraction of a percent as well as Hemingway, and do it in the same way, the man with the incredible gusto he lived his life with, the no apologies, all, that was in the days before this quote unquote toxic masculinity. He was the most masculine and in your face writer of all time. And it's just hilarious how he did these things, but so charming and so inspiring. So Hemingway's my guy. Again, R.I.P. And so there you have that. What was the first novel I read in my life that I remember loving? That's easy, and my mother would tell you this as well. It would be Old Yeller. That's maybe a funny answer, but Old Yeller was my standby when in my childhood years, and being a lazy student, and I think I'm as lazy as I could be, as lazy as with the best of them, right? But being a lazy student, when it came book report time, instead of reading a book, well, I just figured, well, I already read that book, and I've been a voracious reader all my life, but I had the bones of a book report in my head about Old Yeller. So the morning that it was due, I would sit down next to my bed, hopefully where my mom couldn't see me and catch me doing this, but I would pencil out knock out a real quick one-pager book report. So I pretty much turned in the same book report, just rewritten, throughout pretty much my whole grade school life. It seemed to work. Here I am. So there you go. And apparently that's, when they tell you it's part of your permanent record, that's not necessarily true, because never in one job interview or anywhere before, this is the first interview of any sort that's come up in. So there you go, a little peek behind the curtains into the SamStone world. Let's see here. How is the hero in your novel like you, and how is he different? I wish I was more like him. Again, I'm just a regular guy. I was with a lot of very heroic guys, a lot of guys that were high energy, high knowledge, skills, and abilities. And I was always just pleased to be in a room with those guys. I was always just trying to keep up with those guys. And Jake Baylor's one of those guys. I'd like to think that I'm committed like him. I'd like to think that I'm a good Christian. I'm a good father. I'm a good person. I was a good police officer. And I'm just trying to translate that into my second chapter of my life. And I hope that I'm like Jake Baylor in that way. I don't need to be the captain of the football team. I don't need to be the number one guy. I don't need to be the top dog. But I certainly do like to be with those guys and be included in the conversation. So I really hope that I'm like him in that way. How am I not like him? I'm not as athletic as him. I'm certainly not as smart as him. I'm no hero of any sort. I'm not heroic like he is. All those great things, but not a lot of us want to read about a schlub, a regular guy. We like to read about those action heroes because it's fun, right? And a little escapism and a little indulge in a little good time with fiction. So that's where I'm at with Jake. And lastly, but not least, and these are some great questions, Jacob. I do appreciate these. What do you hope people will take away from my novel after reading it? What I hope you see is that that this is a good piece of fiction. I took a lot of liberties with it, so there's stuff there that, while they're grounded in reality, they certainly pass the law of physics. They don't necessarily pass the law of, hey, can I go to that place and see that thing and meet Jake Baylor? Well, no, he's a literary protagonist. He's a fictional character based on a lot of putting together a lot of guys that I know that were eagles and flew high, even though ironically he's the raven. Yeah, he is based on his background comes from a real person, General Sam Houston, the first president of the Republic of Texas, former United States senator, and former member of the Cherokee tribe. We get his nickname from that, the Raven, which is the nickname that the Cherokee gave Sam Houston when he lived with them. In Cherokee, it was Colone. That's also where the name for Jake Baylor's little ranchette comes from. Yes, there really is ranchettes like Colone in the hill country outside of Wimberley, Texas, which is a charming art community in the hills west of Austin, kind of between San Marcos and Dripping Springs, Texas, off of Ranch Road 12. Yes, Devil's Backbone Tavern, where Task Force Raven kind of has her informal team room. It really is there in Fisher, Texas, right outside of Wimberley on Ranch Road 32. Yes, you could really go to all of the places that went into Reaper. You can go to McAllen, Texas. The Border Patrol station may not be exactly the way it's depicted in the novel. The layup area for those the BORTAC team is a real place. The location across the border where the mortar team set up, real place. A San Antonio Riverwalk, absolutely a real place. The neighborhood in where the safe house was for the terrorists, even though that house is randomly chosen and described, a lot of houses like that exist in that neighborhood. The Houston Ship Channel, absolutely a real place. Both the Ship Channel and the Riverwalk are black swan, worst nightmare type terrorist locations for an attack to take place. And of course, Ellington Field in Houston is a real place. The Texas Armory in Grand Prairie, Texas, real place outside of Dallas. AT&T Stadium, where my beloved Dallas Cowboys, being a Dallas Cowboy fan is a difficult endeavor, but we stick with it, right? We have to watch all of our championship games on VHS. We get it. There's nothing you can make fun of me for being a Cowboy fan that I haven't heard before. Texas Rangers play in Globe Life Field right next to the old Globe Life Park. Rangers my favorite ball club, so I enjoyed writing about that. The Medal of Honor Museum really is being in the process of opening right across the street from those two venues in Arlington. And the Fort Worth Stockyards, again, real place. So realistic, grounded in realism, but literary liberties were taken, to say the least. What I'm hoping people take out of this is, hey man, that is a real cool story. Those are realistic characters, realistic and plausible plot, and I can't wait till I read the next one. And just for everybody out there, if you're watching this, I won't put this out wide, but I will tell you the next novel in the Jake Baylor series is going to be called Raven. Simple title, just like Reaper. It's Raven in a 3-part series. You can rest assured the third novel will have R as the first letter in the one-word title. So yeah, that's what I hope you take away from it. I hope you take away a desire to become more a part of the Task Force Raven world. I hope you desire to read more of my writing. I hope you desire to visit my website and engage with me in this world that I'm doing my best to create. And look forward to the next one. Look forward to the next series, for that matter, which I have a lot of ideas for. So there you have it. There's a quick 11 spot of questions for Jacob and all of his viewers. I really appreciate it. Please come visit me in my socials, SamStone Author. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. You can find me on YouTube, Raven Actual. You can find me on Threads and on Twitter. You can also find me on my website, www.samstoneauthor.com, where I hope you'll sign up for my mailing list. And I hope that you keep watching Jacob's content. He does a really great job of mixing it up, having a lot of diverse people on here. And I think he's doing a great job, and he deserves all the recognition and credit for this. So until next time, and until you see one of Jacob's videos next time, Sam Stone signing off. Thanks for your time. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.